Time for Patrico to no doubt screw up your sports.
Don't screw this up, fatty.
Everybody's moving around. Why? Like Fred's sitting over there today. No, you're over there today.
Something's going on with the cameras, so I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Your sports is brought to you by Captain Jim's Fireworks in West Alton. Text BANG to 48258 for more info. The Cardinals, they lost to the Tigers last night, 6-3 in Detroit. Two teams play again tonight. First pitch is scheduled for 6:05. Jake Westbrook takes the mound for the Cardinals. Another baseball note, the Braves, they beat the Yankees last night. That ends the Yankees' win streak. The Yankees won 10 in a row for the first time since 2005 before losing to the Braves 4-3 last night. The Miami Heat, they are now just one win away from winning the NBA championship. Last night in Game 4, they beat the Thunder 104-98. LeBron James scored 26 points in the Heat win. Game 5 is scheduled for Thursday in Miami. Yes, Riz?
No, he's telling me he's on the phone.
Somebody on the phone.
All right, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for another Tony Patrico celebrity interview. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
I was hanging out. I'm just, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
What's going on, Jimmy? How are you? You're good? That's good. I actually have Jimmy Fallon's new album called Blow Your Pants Off. Jimmy, first of all, thank you again for another fantastic album.
First of all, Jimmy.
You are awesome. Thanks for having me on. I mean, I'm proud of this one. This one's it's almost like a greatest hits of all the stuff that we've done on our late night show. That if you're not up that late, you won't see it. So I'm actually happy to release it.
Well, with a morning show, we're definitely not up that late, but I get caught up with all the YouTube clips and all that stuff, and I'm extremely excited for this album because the Neil Young impression, the Bob Dylan impression, it seriously does not get much better than that.
I appreciate that. And it's like, it's one of those things where, I've always had these impressions and everyone kind of does, but it's like, what do you do with them? So I thank God for my writers because I wouldn't even know what to do. It's like, but if you have a David Bowie and they go, what if Tim Tebow and David Bowie were one person and let's make a guy called T. Bowie, and then he's singing like, Tim Tebow to Jesus Christ, in Ziggy Stardust makeup. It's like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Now, when you have to do, like, I know for a fact the Neil Young copying the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now, I'm sure you have to get at least some sort of okay from Neil Young, but do you have to get anything from Will Smith and the Fresh Prince people?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you have to get their okay as well.
I will not be making any money off this CD. No. If that's what you're asking. Now, this is the most expensive comedy record to come out in probably 20 years.
Now, how did you make the decision as far as which history of rap to put on the album?
I figured we'd start with the first one just in case the album does well and we want to put out a second one. Then we can put, because we have 3 history of raps. But this is the first one that we did on the show, and again, this was one of the things about our show that you guys were just saying. We're on so late, so we don't even know what people are going to watch the next day, and so the next day it just went viral on the internet, and just went crazy, and it went all over the place. And Justin was doing promotion for this movie, and he was in France, and he called me from France. He said, "Dude, we're on the cover of a newspaper in France." It's gone everywhere. I go, you're kidding me. I'm like, they know who I am in France? He goes, no.
That's awesome.
I'm Justin Timberlake. Of course, they don't know who you are.
Now, you've worked with some giant names on this album. I mean, Paul McCartney, Eddie Vedder, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, what's it like to work with such big names on this album?
It's intimidating at first, of course, when you pitch him the idea. But once it's done, like Paul McCartney, he was on Saturday Night Live that weekend. He was a musical guest at Saturday Night Live, and I went up to his dressing room to talk to him about our show. And I said, "Hey, Paul, I was just wondering if you want to go over a pre-interview for what we're going to do on my show." And he goes, "Yeah, I think we just have like a fun chat. We'll just do a fun chat." I go, "Great, yeah, fun chat." I mean, he sounds like a Beatle. He is a Beatle.
Right.
And so I go, okay, that's great. So I go, but I also have this sketch idea that I wrote. It's called Scrambled Eggs. And this is based on any Beatles fan would know this thing. It's a cool story that when Paul first wrote the song Yesterday, he wrote scrambled eggs. Oh, my lady, how I love your legs. Just so we could remember the cadence of the words before he went to sleep. You know, he didn't have a tape recorder back then. And then when he woke up, he wrote the song yesterday. So I go, I wrote this song called Scrambled Eggs, Paul, and he goes, yeah, I think we should just do a phone chat. You know, he said it again. So then I go, all right. He goes, oh, well, just sing it for me. Just sing a little bit. I was like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe I have to sing for Paul McCartney. I'm, like, sweating.
As Paul McCartney. As
Paul McCartney. So,
right.
Yeah, so I go, you know, because this is a bit for him. I didn't even want to do this. I just wanted him to come out and beautifully sing Scrambled Eggs. Oh, my lady, how I love your legs, but not as much as I love scrambled eggs. Oh, have you tried scrambled eggs? And then he goes, his head is behind my shoulder now reading the lyrics. He's like, waffle fries. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, he's laughing. I go, so do you want to do this? He goes, oh, only if you do it with me.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I freaked out. I ran back down to the writer's room, and they go, did he say yes? I go, he not only said yes, he wants me to sing this with him. I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to sing a duet with Paul McCartney. It's just one of those weird things. It's just like, all right, let's get to work. This is crazy. We got to do this.
That's great. I love when you do the guests on the show and everything. Now, in all honesty, do you really like doing the show? I mean, I know you like it, but would you much rather be doing like a sitcom type of a show, or do you really enjoy the show?
No, I really, really enjoy the show. I love what I'm doing. This is it's beyond my expectations of how much fun it is. Because I get to do anything. I get to sing a song with these people. I get to do sketches. I get to, you know, listen to great music. It's a really fun time.
I mean, you get to hang out with President Barack Obama. I mean, what's cooler than that?
I mean, that makes no sense, right? It's like, I mean, that type of thing is like the White House called us. And they said, because we did a piece with the First Lady in the White House, and so they said the president would like to know if Jimmy would like to do a sketch or something based on this new initiative that he has. They wanted to raise interest rates on college loans, on student loans, and so he wants to keep them lowered.
Definitely.
I said, yeah, I'll work on a sketch, and he goes, you know, of course, for the president, I'll do anything. And they go, would you travel to a college? I go, yeah, of course. I go, but if I'm going to travel, well, why don't we just do a whole show? And so then they go, well, I don't know. Well, hold on, we'll call you back. So the White House calls you back, and they go, I think he's in, but you can't tell anyone that. Because we got to sweep, you know, Secret Service.
Right.
You know, so we had a code name in our office. The code name was Bieber. So we said, is Bieber still in? Are we still doing this? Like, I think Bieber's still happening. He's going to arrive. Bieber's going to arrive around 2:30.
Which is unfortunately almost as big as the president at this current point.
I know. I should have picked a weirder name. Yeah, I don't know why I picked Bieber, but I could have easily picked Lance Bass. You know, I could have done that.
Probably wouldn't have caused as much hysteria.
Yeah, it's true. But so we get there and we pitch him Slow Jam the News, which is basically just telling the news, but in an R&B type of sexy way.
Right. Yeah.
And with those, one of the first sketches on our first show that we ever did. We've been doing it since we started. So we pitched it to him. He came in rehearsal. He rehearsed it twice. He was like, I know what to do. I got to Slow Jam the News. And then I go, this is crazy that we're doing this. And so at the end, usually I do it with Brian Williams, who's awesome. And at the end of Slow Jam, Brian Williams goes, oh, yeah. So I'm doing it with the president. We're rehearsing, and at the end, he goes, oh, yep. I go, come on. You don't want to give me a little spice? He goes, nope, that's all I'm giving you, Jimmy.
I didn't notice the sexy, sultry Obama on that.
No, he didn't. He has to keep it presidential.
That's awesome. Well, I know you can find the version with Brian Williams of Slow Jam the News on the latest album from Jimmy Fallon in stores now called Blow Your Pants Off. Jimmy, I cannot thank you enough for coming on with us. We really appreciate it. I own the album. It's amazing. Go out and get it right now. You can get it online, all your stores. Again, Blow Your Pants Off, the latest from Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy, thank you very much.
You rock. Thanks for having me on. Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't think you did that bad.
I love Jimmy Fallon, too.
I don't think you did that bad.
That's awesome.
That was a pretty good job, actually.
I love Jimmy Fallon.
Being on the spot like that.
Dude, the look on your face.
Oh, dude.
Like, as soon as I saw the light go off, I go, there's no way, because he was like, what's this? And,
when you said, somebody's on the line.
Another Patrico mystery interview. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Jimmy Fallon. I had so many questions for Jimmy. You're actually a pretty terrible interview, but That wasn't bad for being on the spot.
Thanks.
On the spot. Listen, he didn't have time to think of anything.
I really didn't. And the dude's a talker. And if I didn't just buy that album off iTunes, I'd have been screwed.
What are the odds of that?
Plenty of stuff to talk to him about.
Man.
He was really, that was totally out of left field for Patrico. So I actually do applaud you on,
like, do you
on your efforts
when you're
there.
doing an interview with somebody, do you listen to what they're saying, or are you, as they're talking, just trying to think of whatever the next question's going to be?
No, I listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, because there was a couple times in there where you were like, that's awesome. But like, that's awesome wasn't even like an appropriate response to what they had said.
Well, sorry. I mean, what do you want me to say?
We're critiquing. Riz, are we not supposed to be critiquing? That's part of the whole thing.
You know what? Every once in a while,
this is on-the-job training. That's what the whole point of
I know, but I mean, like,
it's good to say who you're talking to as well.
Yeah,
just in case somebody tunes in.
That is true. Right?
Am I wrong, Riz?
I was just throwing it, and you're like, you're a terrible interviewer.
Once again,
thank you.
Well, no, so he's giving us answers, and I could kind of see you formulating your next question instead of having a conversation with the guy.
Well, when he'll mention something, I'll be like, oh yeah, I got to bring up, he's like, I get to work with some incredible people. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to bring up Obama because that's really cool. So I was thinking about that, and he was very lengthy with his responses. So I was like,
good.
All right, very good.
When you're doing an interview, you'd rather have somebody who's going to sit there and talk to you as opposed to somebody who gives you like 2-word answers.
No answers.
What's it like to work with Paul McCartney? Awesome. It's like, okay. So
no, I had to give the story about going to the dressing room, which was fantastic. He's a good interviewee.
I wonder how much work he actually does on the show, because they always talk about the writers and everything else. I know he has a final approval on what jokes or what bits they end up going with, but like, what time does he get to work?
I heard him on Stern the other day. He said he gets to work at like noon, if not earlier.
He was on Stern the other day?
Yeah.
That would have helped.
Well,
if I would have listened to that would have helped.
He did a fine job.
No, listen, I think you did a great job for being on the spot. We're supposed to be critiquing, right? This is on-the-job training, because someday Patrico would like to have his own show. So he has to know how to, at the very last minute, if something just gets thrown your direction,
right.
how to handle it.
So what to take away from this, just every once in a while mention who you're talking to and listen to their answers, have a conversation with them.
Yeah, and a response should never be, that's awesome. Because it reminds me of, speaking of Saturday Night Live, it reminds me of the Chris Farley thing where he's like, oh yeah, remember that time when you were like, that's awesome.
Remember when you were in the Beatles? Yeah, that was awesome.
Is it wrong that orange index cards immediately make my heart beat 1,000 times faster now? Yeah. Anytime I see one of these, I'm like, damn it.
Well, because we just make like a little index card with just the thing the person is promoting.
573. I'd like to see Woody do one of these on-the-spot interviews as well.
He does. He does every year at the Grammys.
All the time.
And every single person that calls into the station, guess what that is? That's an on-the-spot interview. He has no idea who you are.
I'm fine. If you listen to the people when they're talking and they give you an answer and a little, at least like Jimmy Fallon, we haven't really hit you with anybody yet where you really didn't know anything about them.
That would just be mean, though. You said these are going to be people that I'm going to know, but I have no background on them.
Right. Like, who doesn't know something about Jimmy Fallon?
Right.
Because it's like that thread that hangs from his sweater. Like, you grab that one thread and you start pulling on it. Next thing you know, it's more and more. You reveal more
things.
Right. Right, exactly. Nice job, though. I'd give it, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
He would get a 7.
I was just going to say 7.
I'll take a 7. That's passing. It's better than half.
Which I'm sure if he had more, prep time.
Yeah.
It would have been maybe
and a lot of it has to do with my nerves because, you literally go, oh, here's Patrico to screw up your sports, and Jimmy Fallon's on the phone.
Yeah. Dude, the look on your face.
It was terrifying.
Riz was psyched. He was so happy with the surprise.
Well, and
you guys played it off. You guys played it off very well.
My side started to hurt because I was laughing so hard. We did play it off good.
You guys did. I thought it was just some random person calling the hotline. I'm like, oh, no, what's going on now? And you guys came in, and I was still confused until I heard the, but I'm like, oh, God, here we go.